2, 1.
Boom, and welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by Boss Shot Shells, home of the Stanfield 9. I'm Jeff Stanfield with the world-famous Andy Shaver.
Got to change that. I'm not a blue checker like you are, Jeff.
Well, by God, that's tough shit, boy.
Not a blue checker. That's $7 a month you're paying.
I ain't paying shit. I'm telling you.
Whatever.
Me and Trey Waynes, our guests today, are just blue check guys. With us today from Homegrown Outfitters, Love the Grind TV on the Sportsman Channel, former NFL first-round pick, Mr. Trey Waynes. How are you doing, Trey?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. Got a question for you. You played high school football on a team with 2 first-round picks, correct? Or was Melvin even a first-round pick? Was he a first-round pick also?
He was.
He was?
Yeah, he was 14th, I believe.
How many times did y'all get beat in high school?
Our junior year, I think maybe twice. I think our junior year, I think maybe once or twice, and one of them was in the semifinals. And I mean, we played against Marquette, and they had I think that year they had 5 or 6 Division I athletes on their team, and I mean that right there was a state game. They had the best defense in the state, and we had the best offense. And I mean, everybody knew basically whoever won that game was going to win it, because I think the team because they beat us. But I think we had 10,000 people at that game, which is nothing compared to Texas football. But, yeah, I think the people they beat in state, we beat the shit out of earlier in the year anyways. So I think my junior year was 1 or 2. And then senior year, I think it was the same 2. And one of them was the semifinals against a team that won state. But I actually had missed half of my senior year because I broke my leg halfway through. So, I mean, not saying that would have made a difference, but, I mean, it could have. I don't know.
Well,
but I would say maybe 4 games are in 2 years, something like that.
I think it'd make a big difference, a former first-round pick.
Right.
And I done some homework on you last night. You ran a 4.340, correct?
Yeah, it was a 4.31 laser, and then it was a 4.29 unofficial or something.
That's freaking flying. That's a little faster than you, Andy.
Almost as fast as me.
Yeah, almost as fast. So we're going to talk hunting, because you got a really cool concept on the hunting I want to get into. But I want to talk football for a little bit, because we talk football all the time. I mean, that is God,
Okay.
that is God's sport,
It is Texas,
and we are Texas, so we're going to talk football.
Yeah, it is Texas.
The Saquon Barkley deal right now, he's wanting a long-term deal with a lot of money. I don't blame NFL teams for not paying running backs. I think it's a waste of money to pay a running back $10 or $15 million a year. As a former player, am I right or wrong on that? If you were a general manager.
Well, okay, so it'll be a interesting answer on my end, just because, for one, I understand the player side personally, and 2, I also understand the business side of it. I mean, unfortunately, because obviously, my best friend, he plays running back too, so I'm really familiar in that too, especially when, since we played together, and he also goes through contract negotiations and stuff like that. So obviously we talk. I would say it just depends, because the Giants use Saquon a lot more than other teams would use their running back. I mean, there's a couple of teams in the league that, what's the word I'm looking for? They look at the Titans, and how Minnesota was with Dalvin, and there's teams in the league that really utilize the running back position to be able to, open up the offense. If you're a one-dimensional offense, it's pretty easy to, play against. But the way the Giants wanted to use Saquon, I think, was kind of like a all-around back, do everything kind of back, run between the lines, catch the ball out of the backfield, stuff like that. And as a former player, I feel where Saquon's coming from, because especially being the running back position, it's not a long-lasting position.
Right.
You're taking a lot of beating. Your body's going to get torn to shit. So I think what he really wants is the security, because he knows what he's going to have to do. And, as a player, you want to be compensated for the work you do. You're not going to want to go out there and get used and abused, and then, essentially, for lack of a better word, get shit pay, and then I think another part of it is the guaranteed money, and that's why you see a lot of players, not signing some of these lucrative sounding deals that people that aren't, in the plane or in the GM office or dealing with those contracts really understand. Because it's like you see, all you guys hear is, let's say, just an example, but like, yeah, Lamar's not signing a 4-year, $200 million contract. And it sounds bad when they put it that way to kind of make us look bad. But at the end of the day, it's all about the guaranteed contracts because it's changing now. But what the NFL likes to do is they like to backload a lot of contracts. And that means, let's say you sign, what's an example, 5-year, 50. Well, let's not do 5. Let's do 3. Let's 5-year, $50 million. And they'll structure in a way where it's like your first 2 years, you'll get like $5.5 million that year. And then you won't get the bulk of that until like your 4th and 5th year of that contract. So what they'll do is they'll use and abuse you. And then once the wheels are falling off, once you're getting hurt before you have to get paid the big money, they'll just cut you. So even though it sounds like a big deal, you're not seeing all that because it's all backloaded. You know what I'm saying? So like for example, from my situation, I signed I think it was like a 3-year, $42 million contract for Cincinnati. Luckily with the agents I had, they were very respected and they're very smart and they know how this game works. So my contract was front loaded. So I got 20 up front and then it was 10 and then like 10 or something like that. And it worked for me because my very first year there, I tore my pec off the bone. Oof. So I missed the whole season.
Yep.
So, that, and then my next year, but all my money was still guaranteed because it happened at, the facility. But my next year, I tore my hamstring twice really bad and missed 15 weeks. So in a normal situation where, let's say my contract was backloaded, what if they could have had it where it was, let's say 5 my first year and then like 15 my second year and then the rest my last year. Well, they could have cut me after my first year and I would have only got
5. That
5 and whatever my guaranteed was, So even though it sounded good, I could have missed out on, let's say, $20-30 million just because, that's how the game works. A lot of it's a business. So you want to protect your investment and you want to save as much money as you can. So like, that's why they'll backload a lot of things and they can almost avoid paying players if they don't want to. So it's like, there's so many different variables that go in with it. Like I said, from a player side and a GM side, like I get the GM side because like as a business owner myself, we want to save as much money as we can. But at the same time, if you want certain results and you want, fans in the stands and all that kind of shit, you got to make the investment and pay for it. But it's
you didn't answer
both sides,
you didn't answer the question. So would you pay Saquon $15 million a year as a running back?
Yeah.
You would?
15? Well, it depends on what the running back market's at.
Right.
And
the franchise tag is 10.
If you have some guys that are getting paid, because I don't pay attention anymore since I'm not playing anymore. But like if you have some guys that are getting paid 15 and you're just as productive, like, then yeah, pay them.
See,
but like I said, it just depends on the situation. Like New York's a huge marketing franchise. So regardless, they're going to get a shitload of, money, and it's a big franchise. It's a big market. So it's like, if you want to make that money up in that area, then yeah, you got to pay the players that, people want to see. Because if you let them go, well, you're going to cost yourself a lot of money anyways, because Saquon is one of the faces of the NFL right now.
I think he's worth a big contract, but I would not hitch my wagon on a running back for a 3-year long-term deal because they get hurt so quick, and that's a horrible deal, but that's just part of it. That's the business end of the deal.
But
it's definitely the business end of the deal. But like I said, if you feel he's one of the best running backs in the league, then you're going to pay him as one. Otherwise you got to start over, with a younger guy or in the draft, and he already knows the offense. He's proven himself. I don't know his injury history, but at the end of the day, you got to take a chance anyways, but they can afford to do it.
Yeah.
That's not the issue.
Money's
You know,
not
they
an
can-
issue. The reason I ask
Yeah,
is you've
so,
got Dalvin Cook, Melvin Gordon, Saquon, somebody else that's Zeke Elliott, and there's 5 running backs out there that are legit starters. Kareem Hunt. Nobody signed him yet. They said
Easily. And the thing is, I think what they're doing is they're trying to wait who signs first, because that will kind of set the market. So if somebody signs for like 3 years, like 10, well, guess what? Now other teams are going to see that and be like, oh, we don't have to pay that much anyways, because let's say, you know, Saquon just signed for that and he's, you know, towards the top of that list. Well, if we can get him for cheap, we'll get everybody else for cheap. But like I said, I get both sides, but at the same time, if you're going to use a running back, you know, as, you know, carry the team and, you know, be the workhorse, and pay him as such. But the thing is, they know they can get away with not doing it because it's such a expendable position. And it's turning into a passing league now anyway. So you're seeing a lot of teams throwing the ball more and using their running backs for like scat backs out of the backfield and catching swing routes and actually running routes, where 10 years ago it was more of a running league. So the whole league has shifted as itself anyways. And the Chiefs exposed that when they won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago without a dominant running back.
Okay, my last football question so we can talk hunting is,
Well, it doesn't have to be the last.
well, I'm not going to ask a lot of him because he's sick of football shit, I'm sure.
So yes, I would pay him.
Okay.
I would pay him.
Pay the man.
My next question. The NFL is not as woke as the NFL front office wants to expect. All the NFL players I want are just regular guys. Did they not get sick of all that woke bullshit all the time and being politically correct on everything? Because the locker room's got to be like a locker.
Can you elaborate a little more?
Do what?
Because I'm not. Can you elaborate a little more? Because I'm not really into politics. I don't really pay attention to it. So
all
like
the
whole woke shit, like, what does that
all
mean?
the everything's got to be politically correct. It's a locker room. Y'all make fun of each other. Y'all joke. Y'all have fun. Y'all talk about women. It's like every other locker room since 1900 or 1700 or wherever. The players are just like that still. But the NFL wants to come off that everything's inclusive. And it's. Did the players not get tired of all that?
Oh, absolutely. But it's a business, and you want to, you know, represent your brand, you know, to make it look like it's flawless, respectable, and we do everything the right way. But at the end of the day, we're fucking people too, and it gets frustrating. But like I said, I mean, they're protecting their brand, and I mean, we're coached on how to interview, how to speak, how to answer questions, and it's frustrating because a lot of the times, like when we do interviews and stuff like that, people try to bait us a lot into answering a certain way just to bring negative attention and, you know, cause drama and stuff like that, which, you know, I understand, but you know, at the same time, it's like, that's why I avoided it, because I'm like, I hated doing interviews. I always hated doing media stuff because it's like, it's very robotic in some of the answers that, you know, we're allowed to give and how we're able to give it. But, you know, some guys, they just don't give a fuck either. But as a business owner, I understand, because if you have your employers out there acting like jackasses, it's a bad representation of you.
But it's a bunch of alpha males in a locker room, just like it always has been.
Well, and I mean, and like you look at like a defensive lineman, they're one chromosome away from like a Neanderthal. Most of them, like some of those guys are just fucking chest beaters. And
I don't know. I know some that are doctors.
Yeah, way to go,
now.
Andy. Yeah,
I
bet you wouldn't tell Aaron Donald that to his face.
Oh fuck no, or that, or Derek Wolf. You've seen some of the shit he's putting out there.
No,
Derek. I mean, he looks like a fucking like a legitimate Viking. Like he's got a big old beard and dreads, and I think he's putting mountain lions and chokeholds and shit. I mean, he's just a fucking bronky guy that, you know, he'll thump some heads if he has to.
Yeah, but to answer your question though, like the guys are still the guys.
Yes.
Like it's still like the typical football locker room and stuff like that. It's just now it's, you know, when we do certain things and going to the public, like we just have to be very professional because, you know, that's part of the job, you know, and it's frustrating because it makes us vulnerable to a lot of things. Cause like even like on social media and stuff, and even in public, like we have people that, you know, are talking shit or trying to get a rise out of us. And, you know, more times than not, we can't respond because everybody has a phone and they'll put it on the internet and TMZ, then it'll become an article, and then this is a whole thing. So it's like, it sucks because, you know, as you said, like an alpha male or whatever, or just a male in general. And, you know, if somebody is, you know, being disrespectful, like, you'd want to stand up for yourself and, like, you know, handle things a certain way. But, you know, once you have that professional platform, you're only allowed to do so much.
It's
just because, you know, you can't make the NFL look
and
bad, you know, and
that's the hard part from your guys' standpoint is, you know, somebody disrespects you in person, like, you're going to handle it, but there's zero reciprocations for being a prick online. Like, anybody can say anything, and you can't. There's nothing you can do. I mean, what are you going to do? Find where the guy lives and go, you know, curb check him or whatever. And that's the hard part about social media.
Keyboard
everybody's
warrior.
a keyboard warrior. What was it like? Did you catch any backlash whenever you started posting, like, hunting pictures on your social media? And you were, you know, you played in, like, Minnesota, so, you know, that's a pretty hunting fan base.
Yeah. No, I would say the biggest backlash I got would be recently when me and my buddy came out. I don't know if you saw it, but my buddy came out to visit me, and, you know, we were having a couple beers or whatever, and we were waiting for, you know, our friends to meet up with us to go out to the bars. And we're like, my buddy's like, hey, like, want to shoot some beer cans? We're like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's do it. So in my fridge, I had a whole bunch of, like, Bud Light and Busch Light and stuff. So we grabbed the Bud Lights and, like, we started shooting those. Yeah. I'm like, so we were doing that, and, you know, we were drinking Busch Lights and we were shooting Bud Lights because I like the taste of Busch better. I like the taste of Busch better. I've always liked Busch beer over Bud Light. So we're like, fuck it, we have a whole bunch of extra cans, let's shoot some shit. And he recorded me doing it, and I posted it, like, not, you know, just literally, and I said, you know, Bud Light target practice, like, just for fun. Like, it wasn't anything political or nothing. And then, like, of course, all the, you know, liberals and, you know, those people, like, just had a fucking fit. And I'm just like, it wasn't even, like, that serious. Right. Like we're just shooting shit for fun, you know? And, like, the thing is, it was funny because in the video, you can literally see the Busch Light cans, like, next to us. So I'm like, why would I protest one can and drink a can that's literally under the exact same brand? Like, I was like, that's a terrible political protest right there. Like, I'm protesting against Bud Light, but I'm drinking Busch Light, even though they're under the same corporation. Like, that doesn't make fucking sense. And then, like, of course, like, all the, you know, the red side, they were like, oh, hell yeah, da, da, da. And it was just funny because I even said, I was like, guys, like, you want me to go shoot a Coors can? Because it's like, it's not that serious. Like, I was just shooting, you know, what I had. I didn't go out and buy it just to shoot it. Like, no. But like a lot of people were like, oh, like, you're a snowflake and using all these words and shit. And I'm like, and, like, it was funny because one guy was like, so you're not protesting against, like, you know, all this, like I said, snowflake and all this other shit. I'm like, I was like, dude, I don't even know what half the shit you said even means. Like, I was like, I don't even, like, he started saying all these words that, you know, relates to that. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means, dude. Like, I was like, we're literally just drinking beer and shooting beer. And, like, my buddy's like, he's like, I'm pretty sure shooting beer cans was, like, American pastime. Like, people have been doing that shit for years, you know? And I thought that was kind of funny because it made, like, articles and shit. I'm like, that was not the intention. Like, we were just fucking around while we waited to go out to the bar. Like, but I mean, you can't do anything without offending people nowadays because everybody's so fucking sensitive.
Yeah, and that's what sucks is, like, the more and more companies that kind of do this kind of shit, like, anything that you do, one way or the other, is going to get scrutinized. You're either going to get scrutinized from one side or the other. Yeah. Like, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
I don't know why these companies, though, take a side with their clients. I don't understand why Budweiser did what they did. I don't get it. I don't understand Starbucks. I don't understand it. You don't get in the middle of shit. I'm telling you right now, Coors has stayed out of it so far. But if you're the CEO of Coors, don't get in the middle of this shit. Just stay out of it.
Their sales probably
it has been. I saw yesterday that Bud Light is no longer the number one selling beer in America. Modelo is. Which
I'm not a Modelo fan.
I'm not a Modelo guy either. So I like Dos Equis a whole lot better.
They give me a head. I can have one Modelo and I've got an instant headache. I don't know what it is. Some ingredient.
Well, they're drinking the shit out of it somewhere. But stay out of shit. Just don't get in the middle of it. In any company, you know, we're in the hunting business, so we can be political because 99% of our clients all think the same way we do anyways. That's just the basis of it is we're in the hunting business. But if you're in a business that trends every way, stay out of the shit. Don't make people take a choice. I mean, there's places in Texas, they're giving away Bud Light at bars to get rid of it. They don't want it no more. It's cost them billions and billions and billions of dollars. So somebody that's just a dumb deal. Y'all do something in y'all's hunting business that I'd never have noticed this before. And we live in Texas, which is a big deer hunting state, is y'all actually have a seasons where y'all don't hunt at all.
What do you mean?
Mm-hmm.
They have years that they don't do any hunting at all. They let their deer rest for a year.
Yep. So like this year, we're actually not bringing on any clients. I'm going to hunt. My daughter, actually, she's going to go hunting for the first time. So like me and like a select few are hunting just because, well, for one, we can because we own it. And two, like we got episodes to fill for our show. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's just a Midwest thing. I think it's just more of just how we, want to run our outfit. And, I say this humbly, but, we know how to kill deer. And, the proof is in the pudding, and there's a reason why, we climbed as fast as we did. There's a reason why we have, a wait list over 2,000 people. Like, we know how to kill big deer. And, that's a lot of that has to do with like our strategy behind it. And, we talked about this before we made the decision, but it's like, we want to give our farms a rest, and we want to keep pressure off of it. We want to, because what we are really good at is we're good at holding deer, and we're good at pulling deer from, all over the counties because of what our farms have. And it has everything a deer needs: food, water, cover, everything. So we wanted to basically set our clients up for a monster year in 24. Let our farm sit for 23, let the deer grow, let them get bigger, let them get comfortable, pull more in, let them get more mature. And then when 24 hits, just have an unreal season.
Are you going to manage your herd? Because, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about deer hunting. We've had some deer experts on here. I'm more of a waterfowl guy, duck and goose, but don't you have to like keep everything kind of in check with your buck to doe ratio and things like that? Is that where you're going to come in?
Yeah. So we do. I mean, it's very hard to do out there just because the doe population is so overpopulated. Yeah. But we do have a doe season to where, after the season we'll come in. We'll only bring in a couple of guys that, we really trust. And, we'll send them out to go shoot some does and coyotes if they see them and stuff like that. But it gets tricky sometimes because sometimes they'll shed a little sooner, like the bucks. And, when you're shooting, 100 plus yards out, it's kind of hard to tell the difference between them, so we don't want to have somebody that, isn't familiar with the deer we have or, our farms and come in and shoot a shed buck, early. So we do have a doe season though, just to try to help, maintain that.
Did you grow up hunting, or was this something that you found during your career in the NFL? Because I mean, football season smack dab in the middle of hunting season, so I'm sure it was hard to get away at times.
Yeah, no, I did not. I wouldn't even say I grew up fishing. I fished more than I hunted, but my family, they never hunted. They weren't like anti-hunting, but they were just like, oh, it's just something we don't do. My grandparents, they actually live on I think it's like a 20-acre farm in Cissna Park, Illinois, very, very small town. So like, growing up, I was always going out there a lot and, just being outside, being outdoors. Because, I think it's like a town of maybe 1,000, if that. So obviously it's a lot of country, but, I just always loved it. I've watched hunting shows growing up, and there's always something I had an appreciation for. Just, like you said, I never had the opportunity to go, for one, because my family didn't hunt, and two, it was right during football season. So it's just something that, I never really had time to do. Do you want me to go into the whole backstory behind?
Absolutely. Yeah. How'd you get started? How'd you get started with this?
Okay. So, once I got to the league, I realized that, it's a very fucked up business, and it's something that, I didn't want to do till the wheels fell off. I quickly realized, I was like, you know what, this is not something I want to play for a long time. So I looked at it as, just a head start financially. Like, it was a goal of mine to always make it to the NFL, and I wanted to, give it a fair shake. But I realized early on that, I needed to find more cash flow outside of, the NFL, because I wanted to be able to walk my own terms. And when I did leave, I wanted to make sure that I had something else going that was still bringing money in once football was done. Because I don't know if you guys heard, but the NFL means not for long. Because I think the average career is, no, for real, like the average career is maybe, I think it's like 2.5 years.
Yeah, I was going to say it's less than 3,
and
right?
It's not even, and that's not even counting the guys that, actually get drafted, because you can even get drafted. But, once you're let's say your first contract's up, well, the real money comes on your second deal, because that's when you really get paid. I mean, you can get paid in the first round, don't get me wrong, but it's not significant enough to really set you and your family up generationally, unless you're just a fucking genius with money. But, my goal was, because I didn't even want to play a second contract at one point. I was like, you know what? I'm not enjoying this shit anymore. Like, I just need to find something outside of football, so I'm able to walk away and still have money coming in. But once, we got to that point, then I was like, fuck it, I'm here. Why not? But so we started looking at so many different business ventures outside of football. And, real estate was something that, I personally enjoyed and had an interest in. So, we were exploring that. And as, we were looking, we were just thinking of different types. Because, I mean, there's housing real estate, there's commercial, there's land and stuff like that. And one of my good buddies, actually CEO of our company, he was working at Ecolab at the time. And he was really big in the hunting industry. He was sponsored. He would travel. Like, this is what he did. He lived and breathed hunting while being a fucking genius at a multi-billion-dollar, corporation. So he came up to me. He was like, "Hey, have you ever thought of, investing in land?" I'm like, "For what? Like, what do you mean?" Because, I wasn't really familiar with that. And he was like, "Yeah, invest in, in land, and it's a safe investment, and blah, 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 blah." He's like, what you would do, you would buy farmland for dirt cheap at the time. He was like, you make improvements, you renovate it, and turn it into prime hunting land, and you sit on it for a couple of years and then liquidate it. Kind of like housing.
Flip it.
You buy a shit, you're just flipping it. And I'm like, oh, I can give that a shot. That's a good idea. It's safe. Because, the good thing about land is, even if the stock market's shit, it's not hurting that investment unless you're really fucking up the property.
They're not making any more land.
A lot of people, no, exactly. And that's what I tell people. They're like, well, why land? I was like, well, what's the one thing you can't make more of? Land. And it's not like people are not procreating anymore. It's getting more and more crowded. So the more you have, the more leverage you have. But so he had came up with that suggestion, and me being so, I guess, ignorant to that, market, he was helping me along with it. And so that's what we did. We started investing in land, and, part of that process was, if you're going to sell it as hunting land, you got to hunt it. You got to document the deer. You got to have trail camera photos, all 9 yards. So, what we would do, I only got to hunt it once because, the schedule. And what I did was we had a Sunday night game or something, where it was a regular game. We would have meetings on Monday half the day. So I would drive, it's only about an hour and a half from Minneapolis, where our place was. So I would drive an hour and a half after meetings Monday, hunt the afternoon, hunt at night, hunt in the morning, and then leave Tuesday afternoon to get back for Wednesday's practice. So I really didn't yeah, that was like my only
Right.
time being able to do it. But, as I was saying, we would have, our friends or us hunt the property. And so we could document the deer that we had on these farms. And, as we got more and more, I came up with the idea, because like I said, he was just helping, kind of like just manage it and with the improvements. And like, we weren't really doing it ourselves yet. We would hire out other companies to make the renovations and stuff like that, because he still had his job. I was still playing. But as we were getting more and more, I came up with the idea. I was like, dude, why don't we, since we have to hunt on it anyways, why don't we, sell a couple of hunts, so we can make a couple extra bucks and like while we're doing this process. And then, that led to the outfitter idea. I was like, why don't we just, start our own? And like, again, I was very unfamiliar in this industry because I'd never hunted before and stuff like that. So he was like the hunting expert at this point. I'm like, dude, like, I won't be able to pay what a multi-billion-dollar corporation can pay you. And like, it was hard because he was young and he was moving up the corporate ladder very fast. And I was like, I can't match that. But I was like, I'll be fair. I'll let you, run the show your way. You can have your own hours, and we can see where this goes. And he jumped on it. He was all for it, and it was nerve-wracking for a little bit because, like I said, it's an industry I was unfamiliar with, so I was just trusting him. Like, I was literally putting all my eggs in that basket, and I trusted him enough from his experience to make all the right decisions and stuff like that. And Homegrown was started, and I came up with the name and all that stuff. And when we first started, like, we didn't start right away. We acquired a couple more farms. We did the renovations and we got them all set up. And when we jumped into the, when we became public, being a new company, being a new outfitting, business, we didn't want, like, we knew what we had and we knew we could compete with, the bigger outfitters, price wise and stuff like that. But we felt that was not the right marketing move. Being a new outfit, like, we didn't want a price point too high without proving ourselves to the public. So what we did is we, price, I wouldn't say low, but it was a respectable price to where it wasn't kind of like over the top. And part of our process, I mean, I'm backtracking, but we had talked about this earlier about how we're not hunting this year. Well, another thing we do to help manage, the deer population and keep the pressure off our farms is we hunt every other week too. So we're on a week, we're off a week, we're on a week, we're off a week. And on top of that, we don't fill all our spots, but to a normal outfit, I mean, we're maybe doing half of what a normal outfit would do, just because, again, we don't want to shoot every fucking deer we see and have, because we want to, maintain, the population, the pressure. And so that's another thing that we do outside of a lot of other outfits. But, like I said, so when we first started, we started small. And then every year, as we kept acquiring more farms, we kept adding more clients and stuff like that. Because our rule is, maybe two, but, one hunter per 100 acres. And maybe, depending on the farm and the setup, maybe two. But you have a lot of other outfits that they lease a lot of their farms. So they don't care. They're like, okay, like 5 guys, go. 5 guys, 4 guys on one property, go. And like, that's not our strategy, because we want a high success rate. We want to shoot big deer, and we want to set our clients up for success and a great hunt. So
how many acres?
We're not.
How many acres are y'all hunting?
In just Wisconsin, I think it's around 4,000.
4,000 acres?
We have, like a little north of 4, but we have like 22 farms. I'm pretty sure it's around 4,000, but we just acquired more land in Kansas too. So now we're transitioning to running in Kansas too.
Y'all, how big's the biggest farm you got? Like, are you hunting in Texas? When you say 4,000 acres, most people think of hunting 4,000.
Yeah.
Several tracks.
Yeah. Texas is different.
Right. So,
yeah, we got a couple. Yeah. So I would say in Wisconsin, I would say our biggest farm is about 500 acres. But we have, like I said, we have 22 different farms. I think maybe the smallest one we have is maybe about 75 acres, maybe, but they're all within a 30-minute radius. So we have 3 different lodges for camera crews, for clients, for, you know, people we have coming in. So it's not overcrowded. We have a separate lodge for, you know, staff and camera crews. And then we have lodging for, you know, clients and, you know, our, some of our employees as well. So it's not like jam packed all in one. It's, you know, we want to do like 5-star world class. Like we have a professional chef that comes up and cooks all the meals for everybody. You know, we really want to do it the right way. And, you know, like I said, when we first started, we knew what we had, but we didn't want to overstep and, you know, try to deter people away until we've proven ourselves. And every year we add farms, every year we add clients. You know, we're adding to, you know, our outfitting business every single year. And, you know, we knew we would have success, but we didn't realize how fast we would. I think this is going on our 3rd year, and, you know, we already have, you know, popular YouTube channel. We have social media that's going well. We have our own TV show, 9 different, you know, partners. And, you know, it's a lot of work because, I mean, they all have a lot of deliverables, but I mean, you know, we feel like we're doing pretty good. And, you know, we're frustrated with ourselves because, you know, we feel we can take it to a whole nother level within the hunting industry, but, you know, there's not enough time in the day, and, you know, there's just a lot of other things going on. But, you know, we're very happy with, you know, the success we've had and are having, and, you know, we just want to keep improving and progressing.
So you started this in what, 2020? Started it during the COVID year?
No.
Before?
We started when I was in Minnesota. Yeah. Trying to think the exact year. It was like 2018 or 19 that we started. But like I said, we took a year to make sure everything was in place before we actually, you know, started bringing in clients. So we started Homegrown, I think it was like 2018, 19.
Right.
And then it was probably 18 because we're having an off year this year. That was something. I don't remember.
Right. But you hunted it on your own for a year or two, kind of started managing it that way. And then you started bringing clients in 2020.
Yep. Yeah. Around there. Yeah.
And then you've got a waiting list of over 2,000. That's phenomenal. I mean, in 3 years.
Well, yeah, that was like half a year ago. So I mean, or a year ago. So it's probably grown. Because like I said, we could have you know 2,000 more acres, and we'd still be booked out. We'd still have a wait list, which is great because it's a testament to what we're doing, and, you know, not only we believe, but, you know, people in the hunting industry believe it, and, you know, the success is, you know, showing. But yeah, it's tough, and you know, that's partially to what we do too with the deer management, with the designs on our farms, and, you know, stuff like that. So it's a lot.
Now, are you sitting in a blind personally with some of these guys, or do you have different guides that will take them out, or is it all self-guided?
No. So me personally, no. Again, this past year was the first year I was actually even at camp because I've never been able to do it so far. But we have several guides. I don't want to throw out a number because it changes, but I'll say we at least have 5. We have 5 guides. We have a head guide who, you know, kind of runs the show over all the other guides. But let's say we have like 5 guides, and each guide has, I think they'll have like a group of guys, let's say 5. So each guide has like 5 or however many people we have in camp around that time. And they'll be in charge of basically breaking down, you know, the guys' hunt. Because what we do is, like, when we bring clients into camp, we have, you know, with our Cuddy Link system and stuff like that, we are able to get a lot of intel on, you know, the farms and which deer are on certain properties and where deer are at, and, you know, what they're doing, their pattern. So, like, when we have guys come in, we'll sit down with me, our head guide, and, you know, our CEO, and we'll pull up, like, let's say the guy's hunting, you know, our 500 farm. We'll pull up all the hitless deer on that farm, and your target bucks and what they're doing and where to sit. And we'll strategize a game plan on where we're going to place those guys on the farms. It's not the wild, wild west. So like, we don't just say, hey, this is your farm, do what the fuck you want to do. It's like, no, like our thing is like, we're going to put you in a stand that we think you're going to have the most success on, depending on the deer that you're going to be targeting. And, we're going to strategize. Like, we don't want you roaming around. We want you in this specific stand.
Yep.
And depending on how, your sits go, we'll make adjustments. So that's how we do it. And it just depends on the guy that's hunting, how experienced he is. The less experienced person will probably put somebody with them. But, more times than not, we have guys that, have been hunting their whole lives. So like, we can tell them, like, look, this is where we're dropping you off. This is the stand you're going to go to. This is how you get there, whatever. So we'll do it that way. We'll always have somebody take our clients to their farms. And if they need extra help, we'll take them to their stands as well. But, sometimes we won't sit with everybody, but we might have like a camera guy sit with them or something like that if they want to be filmed for a show or if they want to personally be filmed. So some guys will have a camera, and our camera guys, they know our farms too, because we work with them all the time. They're constantly up at our farms, and they're very familiar with hunting, and they've hunted themselves and stuff like. So they're very experienced. They're not just a camera guy off the street that has no relation to the hunting industry. Like, they know our farms, they know how we're hunting, they know our process, they know the plan. So if let's say the hunter we have has any questions, like, our camera guy will probably have the answer, or we'll be able to communicate that with them as well. But so not everybody has somebody sit with them, but the guys that do, they're usually getting filmed.
Yeah. I saw on your Instagram, one of the counties that y'all hunt in, has the most Boone and Crockett's ever taken. So,
Buffalo County?
Yeah, Buffalo.
All right. Well, that's where our establishment is based, is in Buffalo County, Wisconsin.
And I did not know that.
Where is Buffalo County at?
It's in northern Wisconsin. It's probably an hour and a half south of the Twin Cities.
And it's
it's right by like and stuff.
So you're south you're south of the Twin Cities?
Yep.
Jesus. I was thinking, so it's not northern Wisconsin then?
Not on the border.
No, it's definitely northern Wisconsin.
It's what?
It's right by it's northern Wisconsin. It's like right by like Prescott and Alma, Wisconsin, Nelson, those areas.
I'm looking up Prescott. Where's it been at?
Jeff's a map guy.
Prescott's like right on the border.
Oh, okay.
Of Minnesota.
Yeah. You're basically in Minneapolis.
Yeah, damn near. Yeah.
Yeah, Buffalo County 160, Maverick County, Texas 105. So got quite a lead on Texas.
How many's it got over Maverick?
160 to 105. Whenever this was,
Maverick's down
taken.
In that Golden Triangle.
Where's Webb County? Same place.
Same place.
It's
That's
got 95
south of San Antonio.
We don't high fence either.
If those are Boone and Crockett's, they're not high fenced.
Yeah, it won't qualify.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm the same with you on the high fence stuff. I mean, that's now. I will say this for the high fence guys: if you're hunting a high fence ranch and it's 5,000 acres, you're hunting a wild fucking deer.
Yeah, that's
but shooting them in a 50-acre pen, no. I had a buddy of mine shot a mountain lion. Guy called him up and he said, "Hey, I'm having trouble with a mountain lion. Would you like to come shoot one?" He said, "Well, yeah." He said, "Comes every day on the same deal. You see him every day in the same spot." He said, "Hell yeah, I'll come do him." So he goes in there in dark, flies. They fly in a private jet. They land in this little area. Guy picks him up like at 5 a.m. Takes him and his wife, goes with him, takes him in. They go through a gate, and he said, "Sun comes up, and here comes this mountain lion." He said, just like the guy said. And he said, "I shoot it, and I start looking around." He said, "I'm in an enclosed cage." He said, "It's like a 3-acre deal."
God.
Yeah,
What?
It was a mountain lion. It didn't have any.
Sounds like a setup.
Didn't have any claws. It had been declawed.
It was somebody's pet.
Yeah,
So it was a big cat.
pissed.
Hey, did you? This is kind of off topic, but there's a video. I guess somebody in like a high rise had a pet alligator and it got out and it falls 20 stories down, and like a Ring video doorbell or whatever captured this, and you just see this fucking alligator, bam. And I mean, I bet it goes 10 feet in the air, but I don't who has an alligator in their apartment? at 20 stories up.
Who the fuck?
That's like saying who has.
That's
a
what I was
snake?
going to say.
Like who wants a fucking snake? Like
that's true too.
Same shit.
Did you see? I guess Warren Sapp was with Python Cowboy down in the Everglades, and he was. They capture Burmese pythons because they're an invasive species. There ain't no fucking way I'm doing any of that shit.
If I see a snake, I'm shooting it.
Not a shot in hell that I'm jumping on a Burmese python. I don't care if it's 6 inches long or however long. Like it, and some of those get up to 20 foot or something like that. Fuck a bunch of that shit.
Yeah, I ain't fucking with it.
No.
Because we got rattlers down here, and it was like I see one of those. Luckily they're more east, but I'm not.
What kind of rattle is it? Like an eastern diamondback? Is that what it is?
Yeah,
they get big.
I think so. I don't know. I haven't seen them. So I've been places where they are, but I mean, it's anything snake. I want nothing to do with it. So I don't know how many different species of rattlers are there. It's all the fucking same.
Yeah,
thing. The rattles I'm shooting at.
Every snake's a fucking rattle cobra to me. I hate all of them.
Right.
You went to Michigan State. So do you hate Ohio State or Michigan more?
I would say Michigan. I know because like when I was there, like we had a lot of guys from Ohio too. And a lot of times those Ohio guys, like they probably weren't recruited by Ohio State. So they have like a personal vendetta. I mean, we don't like either of them, but for me personally, I would say Michigan. I mean, my rival was Wisconsin just because I was a Wisconsin kid. But, you know, Michigan is definitely up there. Like whenever we played Michigan, we didn't even refer to them as Michigan. We always said that school down the road. And there was no respect for them. And I know not me, but, you know, there's been coaches and, you know, players that, you know, whenever they would like go home in the off season or drive through, like if they had to drive through like Columbus or Ann Arbor, like there was such a hatred. They refused to like get gas, like in those cities. They're like, I'm not giving them my gas or, you know, my money. Like they would not stop in those cities to, you know, for any kind of business, whether it was gas or groceries or nothing. They're like, no, I'm going to the next city.
Ohio State.
I would say Michigan for sure.
Ohio State has a fan base that's unlike anything else. Their fans, we hunt a lot of Ohio guys, and they're great guys, hardworking, blue-collar type people, great people. But they are the biggest pain in the ass football fans in the whole world are Ohio State fans. I don't care where you're at.
I believe it.
Every state has a faction of them, but it don't matter where you're at.
I'd say Michigan.
Worse than Ohio State?
I'd say Michigan.
See, we don't have that many Michigan people.
So like Ohio is just like people just don't like Ohio anyways. Like Michigan. I mean, I think it's just like a country thing because it's like you must be from Ohio or it's Ohio. But like especially if you're from Michigan, like for some reason you just don't like Ohio. It has nothing to do with the Buckeyes or it's just the whole state. You're just like, oh, it's fucking Ohio.
Everybody hates Ohio.
But like, yeah, it's just Ohio. Yeah. But for Michigan, like Michigan fans, like. I think they're like, I mean, because they're those guys that think their shit don't stink and they're riding the coattails from like Charles Woodson and like back in the day when Michigan was really fucking dominant. They haven't really been like that in over a decade. So it's like, but they're like, oh, Michigan this, Michigan that. It's like, dude, when I was there, we wiped the floor with you guys. Like we beat the shit out of you guys. But they always like reverting back to like the older days when they were like a powerhouse. And then they're like, oh, we had Brady. It's like, Brady didn't even fucking play when he was there.
I saw that the other day. You know? They were talking about great Michigan football players of all time. Tom Brady. He was a backup fucking quarterback to Drew Henson.
I know. I mean, you had Charles Woodson, who was amazing. But like I said, years ago when they were really dominant, like that's what they're just riding on. It's like, no, like let's talk about this decade, the here and now. What are you guys doing now? And they're making a comeback. Like it's still a respectable team and program, but it's just they're just one of those programs. You're just like, bro, like you guys are annoying as shit. Like you're just so extra. It's just, I don't know if it. You know, I don't even just say that. I think I see it more coming from Michigan State and stuff like that. But it's just like even in high school, like our city was kind of divided. Like we had the north and the south. It was the north side was Kenosha Bradford, which was more I don't want to say blue collar, but it was, yeah, I'd say more blue collar, like, you know, just
working people.
hard nose. Yeah, working. And then you had Tremper, which was the south side of the city, which is more like, oh, like we're like ritzy and like da 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 da. Like my dad's a lawyer, shit like that. So it's like, that's kind of like the relationship I had for like MSU and like versus Michigan. Like Michigan was always kind of like that ritzy, prissy, like, you know, little prick, you know, to where Michigan State was more, Michigan State felt more like working class, hard nosed, like, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah. So, what's it like getting up for a game, like whenever you're going to play one of these big rivalries? Is there anything in the NFL that compares to it, or is the NFL such a business that you kind of don't have that emotional attachment?
I would say the closest thing I had in the NFL was Green Bay with Minnesota. And then, well, yeah, Green Bay, because, I mean, Minnesota, Green Bay, huge rivalry.
Yeah, always on Sunday Night Football, it seems like.
Yeah, that was really big, especially me being from Wisconsin. Like, you know, everybody there is either, and where I grew up, you're either a cheesehead or you're a Bears fan. And, you know, the Bears haven't really been good in a while, so there's more Cubs fans that were annoying. But, I mean, it was, you had, you know, some Chicago fans, you had a couple of Vikings fans, and then everything else was Green Bay. So it was always really big for me being, you know, from Wisconsin and then playing Green Bay and, you know, growing up, you know, knowing that rivalry and stuff. But I would say outside of that, I think the Saints were kind of like a little sneaky rivalry just because, well, no, because we had, you know, it was like divisional games. Like those were always really big. You know, when we played Green Bay, the Bears or the Lions, like those were always big games because they were divisional games. But the Lions and the Bears, I mean, they were competitive, but they weren't like when I was playing, it wasn't like, you know, Green Bay when we had to prepare for like Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams. Like they had Stafford who was good and Jay Cutler for a little bit, but it was just different when we played Green Bay, just because they were usually one of the powerhouses. So, I mean, would I say rivalry throughout the division? No, it was more of just Green Bay, because you know how Chicago and Green Bay, they're rivals, and then it was Minnesota, Green Bay. Detroit was kind of like just in their own world. But I would say for us personally, I think when I was playing in Minnesota, I think the Saints were a little bit of a rivalry because we always played them in the playoffs, and it was always a close fucking game. And like we played them multiple times in the playoffs, and we always beat them in the playoffs. So it's like we knew they always had our number. So like, I mean, that I would say, but I mean, outside of Green Bay, I wouldn't say it was anything crazy. I would say college was a lot more intense, because at the professional level, like you said, it's a business. So a lot of guys, like, we're either with the same agency or we train together, or, you know, just stuff like that. So like we're friends with a lot of those guys, you know. It's like, cause we're interacting with them more, because it's not like we're stuck in our, you know, particular college and that's it. Like, no, like we're at the next level. So a lot of those guys were at the draft together, we're at the combines together, we're training together. So like, we know them on a personal level. So like, you know, in the NFL, like, yeah, we're competitive as fuck and we're trying to win. But like, I remember, like, you know, I'd talk to, you know, Rodgers after games, you know, Stafford, you know, Devontae, or, you know, guys from different teams. Like even, you know, on other, like Adrian Peterson, like he was a buddy of mine. Like I played with him in Minnesota. Then he went to New Orleans. So like, we're still cool. Right. Like, so when we played them, like after the game or during the game, we're like, hey, like, how you doing? You know, stuff like that, while still trying to beat the shit out of you. But college, you know, like, it wasn't any of that at all. Like there was very, very few personal relationships. Like if you grew up with a guy or something, or I don't know, whatever. But yeah, like I didn't really know anybody personally on other schools, unless, you know, I grew up with them or I met them at, you know, camps in high school or something like that. But, you know, it was more of like a hatred. Like when we played Michigan, like we fucking hated those guys. Like we were trying to, like seriously, we were trying to beat the living shit out of them. And, you know, same for Ohio State and, you know, these other schools. But So I felt the rivalry was more intense for, I would say, the players in college, as well as fans. But, in the NFL, I think the rivalry for fans are bigger than it is for most of the players. Like some of the players, yeah, they feed into it, or, how they grew up hating certain teams. So it's like, yeah, like certain players, like they'll feel a big rivalry in the NFL. And yes, it is a rivalry, but
it's a professional rivalry.
It's a job.
You still want that guy to eat, but just not when you're playing him.
Yeah.
What about?
Yeah, exactly. But like in college, it's
fuck
like,
you. I'm putting 50 on you if I can.
Did you play with Kirk Cousins at Michigan State or just at Minnesota?
Yep. No, I played with him. Yeah, I played with him at Michigan State. I think it was for a year.
He seems like a really likable guy.
He is. I'll put it this way. He is how he was in college is how he is now. Like he is one of those guys that, like, it's funny because like when I'm talking with some of my buddies that, played with him as well, and they're like, oh, how's Kurt doing? I was like, is he still the same Kurt? I was like, still the fucking same guy. Great guy, like really nice guy. Never had an issue with him. He's just, to me, he's been the same way since college.
Made an obscene amount of money.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Good for him. His agent is he is a great fucking agent.
I mean, he's made almost $500 million.
Well, no. He's on paper, yeah, but then
but I'm saying he's made about $500 million, not count. I mean, yeah, the government's going to get half the shit and they're going to fuck it off anyways. But he's
and then you got agent fees too. You got agent fees and other shit. But no, he's made a shitload of money.
I think he's close to $500 million. He's got to be one of the highest paid players to ever play the game when you look at the amount of money he's made playing football.
Is the shit talking?
Yeah, I don't know of anybody that's made any more than he has. I mean, some of these new quarterback contracts are going to be. Patrick Mahomes will blow that out.
Oh, there's a lot of guys up and coming that are going to blow that shit out of the water because the cap went up. The cap keeps going up. So, like, when Kurt was making his money, like, the cap was not as high as it used to be. And it's going up, but you're going to see some contracts that are just fucking stupid.
Kirk, if he wants to play after this year, he's a free agent after this year, I think. He'll get another $50 million from somebody for a year. Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. Probably. I don't know about a year. It just depends. It just depends. It depends. It really depends. For a year, I think that might be a stretch. Depending on how he does this
If he has
year.
a good year, someone will give him a 2-year, $100 million deal at the way things are going right now.
Sounds like a soccer.
It does. but if I had to pay Kirk Cousins $100 million for 2 years, or I had to pay Kyler Murray, I would pay Kirk Cousins $100 million for 2 years.
That might be a stretch. Kirk's up there.
I think Kyler Murray is very overrated because he relies on his legs. He's a hell of an athlete, but like RG3, once those legs go, it sure is hard to be that quarterback.
Think about this. Would you rather pay a quarterback that's up there in years or a quarterback that has more years?
I'm just talking about 2 years.
I think it depends on what you're at for the organization. Yeah. Like if you're an organization like Tampa Bay, go get Brady for 2 years and see if he can take you there.
That's what I was going to say. It's not like it's
not for every
Kirk's
organization.
A great quarterback, great guy, but it's not like you're paying. I'd pay Brady that. Yeah. Because Brady, he has Super Bowls. Brady's won a lot more. And like I said, he's getting up there in age. And, honestly, he hasn't really won much. He's had a really good career, but why are you going to, pay a guy that much if, he doesn't have that background of, certain accomplishments? Like Brady, 100%.
I'm a Redskin fan.
Josh Allen. 100%.
I grew up a Redskin fan, so I'm not paying Kirk Cousins no money anyways. He's a good guy, but I don't want him as my quarterback. I would pay Patrick Mahomes $80 million a year.
Yeah.
Oh,
exactly. But he's proven himself. I mean, so is Kurt too. But
there's no doubt about that at all. Who's the best player of all the wide receivers in the NFL? Who is the best wide receiver you ever played at that's a star? And then who is not a star wide receiver you played at that you thought was very, very good, just never ever got a break?
I would say Devontae or Tyreek would be the best ones, and then I don't know.
Yeah, which guy
Who's
just
not a
never
star?
ever broke through the threshold, but was very talented.
But you were like, you know what? He's got something. Like if he could just catch the right break, he could be a star. And I think it's interesting that Chiefs fans shit on Tyreek Hill so much, but it's just because that he broke it.
The Chiefs fans always trash Tyreek Hill. I think Tyreek Hill's the top 10 wide receiver of all time.
I don't know if he's going to play long enough because he says he's going to quit after this year.
Yeah, I don't know about all time. I mean, he's up there. He's an amazing fucking receiver, but all time, like, I don't know. There's so many great receivers that, I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to say. It's hard to say. And like I said, I don't know how to answer the question about the non-stars. I don't know. Because again, I think it just depends on the market you're into. Because like just for an example, like Devontae, Tariq, those guys are absolute superstars. But then they were in big, respectably big markets. So, they were getting a lot more, press than some of the other guys. But then it's like, well, if you look at the Detroit Lions a couple of years ago, like Kenny Galladay was considered a star there. Like he was good, but I wouldn't put him like superstar like, Devontae or Tyreek. And so like you've had really good receivers come through certain organizations that were considered stars for that organization. But in the bigger picture, like were they? Like, Golden Tate, he was another one when he was in Detroit. He was like one of their star receivers. But where it was he or was Kenny on the Calvin Johnson level? No.
Right.
So it's just kind of hard to, gauge that because it's like, well, maybe depending on certain situations, they would have more breakouts with certain organizations or quarterbacks. Like it's hard to tell.
We're getting a lot of background noise.
On my end?
Yes. Is there someone in the room with you?
I'm at the gym, kind of ducked off in a corner.
That's what it is then. Okay, that's fine.
What are you working out today? You still working out? Like how many times are we working out a week?
Man, not as much as I'd like to. Just always busy. Like I'm traveling all the time, mainly for work and like doing other stuff. And I'm just barely ever home. And then especially with kids and, we got a ranch out here with like horses and all this other stuff. I got work out there. Like, so I'm going to do the gym here for maybe an hour. And then I got to go to the ranch and do some stuff there and then, work the horses and just always fucking busy. So it's like, I'm retired, but I'm not retired. So I'm just as busy. I'm traveling just as much.
Yeah.
So when I go when I can.
Is the rivalry amongst wide receivers and cornerback the greatest on the field because it is a one-on-one chess match every single time? Because here's the thing. I went to a high school football game this last week. It was an all-star game.
Yeah.
There was a wide receiver and a cornerback, and it felt like they were fighting at the end of almost every play. Like they were constantly jawing back and forth. And I didn't know if it was because
maybe that guy slept with the other guy's girlfriend.
I don't know if it's just because the stakes are higher. Like if a DB gets burned, like that stands out more than if a linebacker gets chipped by a pulling guard or something like that.
Yeah, I would say yes, just because it's, like I said, it's more personal one-on-one. Me, though, like I wasn't really a talker in the NFL. I did a little bit in college and high school, but like the NFL, like I really looked at it as like a business. And I think my career would have been a little different if I, approached it differently. Because, when I was getting drafted and going into it, like I knew some guys that were already in it. And, when we do a lot of these seminars and meetings and stuff pre-NFL about do's and don'ts and how to present yourself and carry yourself. Like I looked at it really as a business. So like for me, like it kind of took the love out of the game for it. Well, I mean, I lost the love anyways because I had to play corner.
What did you want to play?
Hard. I mean, my dream position was like outside linebacker DN, but genetically I just never could play that. But that's initially what, or safety linebacker, whatever. But that's like what made me fall in love with the game. And I tell people all the time, they're like, oh, why'd you stop so early, and why'd you retire? You still have so many years, and like I could easily play another 4 fucking years, but I hate running, and I respect the hell out of the cornerback position because it's easily the hardest position on the field outside of quarterback, but physically it's the hardest position. And it's like, you got to cover the best athletes in the world going backwards. You're like, you don't really get a lot of help. Everything, like, and with the rule changes and the things you can and can't do, it's favored, not in your favor, like big time. And it's like, I tell people all the time, I was like, I fell in love with the barbaric part of the sport with, the physicality. Like, I fell in love with hitting people. And like I tell people, like, that's the one thing I miss the most is hitting people. And it's like, I didn't sign up to play football to have a track meet every time I walked down the field, and like growing up, I never watched corners. Like, I knew who, some of those guys were, like Champ Bailey, Charles Woodson, some of those guys, like, again, respect the hell out of them. It's a hard thing to do, but I never had that passion for that position that I did for other positions because, like I said, like, I fell in love with the physical part of the game. Like, there's a guy over there, let me just go hit him. Like, that's what I wanted to do. And, I thrived, in the run game, in the run defense, because, that's what I was like, fuck yeah, like a 300 pulling guard, let's go. Like, running back, let's go. Like, oh, a fast fucking receiver, great. Now we got to have a race down the field.
And I can't touch him.
And I got to, like, yeah. So it's like, that took a lot out of it for me. And, it's probably a good thing because my body already fucking hurts. And if I would have played other positions, and probably would be off in worse shape. But, yeah, I mean, that's kind of why, I was okay with, leaving. But I would say the rivalry there, like, I never really talked shit, but the rivalry is more personal because you have receivers who are kind of considered prima donnas. And then you have, the corners that are, I mean, known for shit talking. I mean, you just have two really big personalities going at it. And, a lot of people love it. And a lot of corners, a lot of receivers love that aspect of it. But me, like, I was never a talker. Like, I was like, let my game do the talking for me, like, whatever. But I mean, I would say that. And then, I mean, sometimes you have some quarterbacks that like to chirp too, but I would say it's mainly between wide receiver, DB, maybe running back, linebacker.
So Derrick Henry coming downhill at you, you're like, let's fucking do this. I'm game. What?
Let's go.
It's gonna hurt.
It's gonna hurt, and he might win. Let's go.
Oh my goodness.
What?
Not saying I'm gonna knock his ass out, but I'm gonna try to get him out. I've tackled him before, but like I said, it's not like I'm not ignorant to the fact that he's a fucking monster of a guy and can blow my shit up, but I'm gonna give it what I got.
And he's fast. Why is Travis Kelce so fucking hard for anybody to cover?
I mean, he's a hell of an athlete, but I would almost say he gives off like Adam Thielen vibes. Like, he's not your prototypical like tight end, and when I say that, it's like I mean, because I guess like we're growing up, we were used to like the Antonio Gateses, the Shannon Sharps, like, those kind of tight ends, and tight ends looking and being a certain way, and he kind of changed that up. Like, he brought his own style to the game, and it's like, he's definitely a physical specimen, but it's like when you look at him, you're like, oh, like, okay, kind of like, Adam Thielen was, or like Harrison Smith. Like, you see those guys on the street, you're like, these are some of the best safeties, receivers, and tight ends to play the game. Like, you don't look it. Like, because I think people, they do the eye test, It's like, oh, this guy looks like a fucking monster. He's going to be a monster. Well, it's like you have like these guys in the NFL that don't necessarily fit the mold of, how a certain player at a position is supposed to look, and you kind of just sleep on it. But I mean, he just has his own style of game, and he's very smart. Like he's a student of the game. So like him and Patrick have a really good chemistry and how to work off each other, which also helps too. But I mean, at the end of the day, he's a fucking baller. And you know, when you're a gamer, like it's just hard to cover sometimes.
He's good.
You know,
It's kind of funny you said that about the eye test, because when you look at Des Bryant looks like an athlete. I mean, he looks like he's chiseled out of stone.
Yep.
And then when you see Cooper Kupp, Cooper Kupp looks like he should be a surfer.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And like I said, Adam Thielen was the best example I could give, because you're just like, oh, like, really? Like, it doesn't look like much. And like even Harrison Smith, like I guarantee if he walked the street in Minnesota, like a lot of people wouldn't even recognize him, because he's just a very low key, casual guy that, you know, doesn't draw a lot of
you're
attention.
like, how the hell are you making these plays that you're making? Like, where is this coming from?
Yeah. I mean, dude, he's a monster. Like, he's a really, like, me and him are like really good friends. And it's like, you know, I even saw it. I'm like, when he's suited up on the field, like, dude's a fucking legit. But if you saw him outside of it, you're just like, oh, he's just a normal guy.
Did you play with Cam Smith? Cam's been on the podcast. We had him on this. He was a linebacker, played for USC, was a captain for USC. He quit.
He had a heart attack.
I don't know if y'all might. I think he retired in 2020. He had a heart attack.
Played in Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Oh yeah,
redheaded kid. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. He was there. He was like a rookie when I was there.
He only played a year or two, and then he had heart issues.
Yeah, I think it was only it was like 1 or 2 years. Yeah,
he's been on the pod.
Unfortunate, but I remember
he's been on the podcast before, and he talked about whenever he realized that it was over for him, he had to do like punt return or some shit like that, or kickoff or something, and he sees on the other end some guys just fucking screaming, getting jacked up, and getting, you know, ready to go smash people in the mouth, and he was like, he wants it more than I do, and I'm done. Like, he just knew that fire was out in him. He's like, it's time. He's like, that ain't me. That ain't me.
Yeah, and like I can relate to that. Like, again, like I said, like I say my fire went out a while ago, but you know, I still had, you know, I was still, you know, competitive, and like I wasn't gonna just go out there and just be like, oh, like I'm just out here. But you know, because our situations were different, and you know, I don't remember where he got drafted, but like I got, you know, drafted first early, and so to me, like I knew my chances of, you know, financially was a big possibility. So that was like kind of motivation for me, rather than, you know, having that fire in the game. So I had motivations behind continuing to play. And like, you know, with, you know, when I had wife, kids, all that stuff. And, you know, I also knew, I was like, you know, this could be really big financial head start for me, especially for after football. So I'm going to try to make the most of it. But, you know, I definitely understand, you know, not having that fire, because when you don't, that's how you get hurt.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be all in, and you know, if you don't, you know, you could really get yourself injured, and you know, there could be a lot of repercussions, you know, because of that.
Yeah, I just looked him up. 5th round, 2019, and then I think he played 2019, and then 2020 he had his heart issue.
I think my headphones went out. 1 second.
Yeah, August 8, open heart surgery.
Yeah, I would have retired after that shit too.
Yeah, fuck yeah. I'm not, you know, and like you said, and like it's got to be so. It's a weird dynamic, because you can get a king's ransom, you know, but then it's like at the same time, as soon as you start slowing down a step, they just cast you to the side so easily and get the next best.
Yeah, I think to that point, I forgot who had said it. It was like one of my buddies. I'm gonna butcher it. It was like how they worded it. It was like a king's ransom for like, I forgot the other half of it. But essentially, they were saying like king's ransom, like it could be worth so much, but the cost of it could be, you know, life changing, like not worth it, you know. And I know a lot of guys that are, you know, not in the league, or they put, you know, everything they had into it to try to make something out of it, and like they just end up getting fucked because of how crazy it is.
My last question, then we're gonna start wrapping up. When you tore your pec, did you know automatically that you'd done that?
Oh yeah, I knew something was wrong. I was benching, and you know, I love I loved benching. Like, that was my shit. Like, I would pick benching over anything else. And when I knew it, when it happened, I was like, fuck, something's not right. And like, I would consider myself like fairly a tough guy. And I was like, this shit's hitting a little different. Like, I was like, there's no like fighting through this injury.
What was worse, the pec or the hamstring?
Are we talking about like which injury was worse or which one hurt the most?
Pain wise. We'll do both. Pain wise and then the recovery.
So I would say initially pain wise, the worst one I had was when I had a grade 2 AC sprain in my shoulder. Yeah, that one hurt like a bitch. It happened like the first play in preseason against Buffalo, and I made a tackle, and our linebacker was coming over top, and he had missed the guy. Like, I'd made the tackle, but he had flew over him. And, like, I was on the ground, and he basically ended up hitting my shoulder right into the ground. And, like, I had like ended up getting like a grade 2 AC sprain, and like that fucked me up. Like, I was like, holy shit. Like, I thought I broke my collarbone. And I remember Harry coming, he saw it, and he like helped me out. He's like, not on the first play, Trey. Like, you can't go out on the first play. I'm like, fuck you, dude. So I'm like, all right. So I stayed in, and then the very next play, they run like a sweep to my side. I'm like, fuck, dude. So now I got to make another tackle and take on blockers right after I just fucked my shoulder up. So then I did that, and then after that, I just walked to the side. I'm like, dude, my shit's fucked. Like, I thought I broke my collarbone. Yeah. So that, I would say the initial pain, that hurt the worst. The pec hurt too. That one hurt. But like I said, I think the AC was the worst pain-wise, but initial pain. But I would say lingering pain, I would say the hamstring.
Right.
Just because, you know, I had to drive, you know, on it. I had to walk. Like that one sucked.
Take a shit and stand up and wipe your ass. Like everything's
yeah,
bad.
That was terrible. Like, it was so shitty. And like the pec one, yeah, that fucking hurt. But it's like you said, sitting down, like driving, going to the bathroom, that had nothing to do with, you know, my arm. Right. But like the hamstring, that just lingered forever. And like, you couldn't sit down a certain way. And like, when I sat, I'd have to like kind of like lean.
Have a donut or something underneath you.
Yeah, it sucks.
But now, you know, you're retired and relatively healthy. I mean, I'm sure you still kind of ache every once in a while, but.
Oh my God, every day.
You do?
And you know, that's like what I said, is like the whole King's ransom thing. And it's like, and we knew what we were signing up for. Yeah. And, you know, I think that was kind of like a blessing, because it's like, I came to the realization that, you know, my body's going to hurt every single fucking now. But, you know, if I was playing, that shit would have just been escalated, you know, and like amplified. So, I mean, it's good, because, you know, my whole thing was, you know, at the end of the day, I want to walk when I'm 50, and I want to be able to enjoy doing stuff with my family, my kids. Like, I don't want to be that retired football player that can barely move, barely walk, and, you know, is just fucking miserable the rest of his life and has to take, you know, all these drugs just to function.
Yeah.
So.
Well, listen, man, we've kept you almost an hour and a half. This has been a lot of fun. We appreciate you being so generous with your time. Good luck. When does the show air on Sportsman? It's coming up, isn't it? In July?
Yeah, it's coming up. We're actually going to make an announcement, you know, probably soon. So I would just say, you know, just stay tuned on, you know, our social media, and, you know, it will come out with a schedule.
Well, listen, if you have a hankering to shoot waterfowl in Texas this winter, I know it's your off year. You're not shooting many deer. You know, just hit me up, come on down here, and we can shoot some ducks and geese with you. Be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I would definitely love to. Actually, like, my schedule this year for hunting is actually pretty full too. You know, I got an Iowa hunt, I got a Wisconsin hunt, I got 2 elk hunts coming up, buffalo hunt, like I think an alligator hunt too, or some shit. I don't know, but if I can squeeze it in.
Get ready to deal with some snakes on that alligator hunt.
Not if I'm in a boat.
Shit, the fuckers will crawl in a boat.
They'll get you. They'll find a way.
If they crawl in a boat, well, it might get interesting.
Trey, it was great talking to you. God bless you. Wish you the best of luck. And like I said, if you want to come shoot some waterfowl this season, we'd love to have you come down and visit with us.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. Go get your workout in. We're taking up enough time.
Sounds good.
Thanks,
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Makes you feel good when a guy who runs a 4.340 says, I just don't like running.
I just hate running. Can you blame him?
If I ran that fast, I'd run everywhere. I'd run to town real quick.
Shit. Can you blame the guy? I don't like running either.
Smart man. Got out of football, made his money, got out before he was beat up real bad. Didn't worry about all those big contracts. Got that second contract, and that was it.
Well, and he was honest with himself.
Yep, very much so.
He realized, like, this is not
He didn't love it.
I want to do forever.
Smart man. You know, he said something that made a lot of sense that I've never thought of. The NFL is smart, and they've done something I never have thought about this until he said that right now. They've got these rookie contracts loaded because they're all set at a certain,
right.
What do they call that? They have it's not a limit, it's a slotted. They have a slotted price for every rookie.
Yes.
Number one, first round, first pick is slotted at $3 million a year, whatever it is, wherever it goes down and stuff. And they got that because guys like Jamarcus Russell, when they come out of college, they got these $40 and $50 million guaranteed deals as quarterbacks or whatever it was, and they faltered and they didn't make no money. Well, the veteran guys that are on their second and third contract were not making as much as the guys coming into the NFL was, and they flip-flopped that. Well, now what the NFL does is they got guys like Saquon Barkley that they're getting that second contract. Well, you know what? You're going to have to pay really hard to get that second contract and make some money.
Right.
Or we're just going to go draft more guys and save money. It's turned out to be a smart move. They're rewarding the true superstars are getting rewarded with big second contracts.
Right.
And they cut out those big contract blow-ups. But I still, to this day, I like Saquon Barkley. I think he's a great guy. He doesn't get in trouble off the field, but I would not pay a running back $15 million a year. Christian McCaffrey gets $15 million a year because Carolina did it, and I wouldn't have done that with them either. And I don't blame San Francisco for trading for that pickup. Saquon Barkley is a piece that probably would be worth $15 million as a quarterback, but I would not hitch my wagon to a 3-year contract on a running back. I think you can get a guy out of college. Bijan, who would you rather have right now, Bijan Robinson or Saquon Barkley? One of them's going to be $3 million a year, and one of them's $15 million a year.
I mean, it just depends on what you're looking at for the organization.
I think they're pretty much interchangeable parts because I think Saquon's going to. I think Bijan's going to be a lot like Saquon.
We will see. There are busts.
There are busts, and he may be a bust. Zeke Elliott was a great first rookie contract. They got their money out of him, but he's not. The second contract they blew their whole wad on, and it screwed their whole team up because they couldn't afford nothing else. All right, let's get out of here. Thank y'all for listening to us. God bless y'all. Have a great week. Go to Patreon. We got a giveaway going there right now. That's it. Bye. See ya.
Check out all of our great sponsors. Go check out the Looking Glass Podcast, Lucky Duck, Ducks Unlimited, Double T British Kennel, Mossberg, Stanfield Outfitters, Alpha Outdoor Specialties, Shin Gear, Dirty Duck Coffee, Boss Shot Shell, Dive Bomb Industries, and Pacific Calls.